Welcome back, Nerglings. Today we're taking a look at my Chaos Dwarf war machines, but before we start, be sure to like, share and subscribe so you don't miss an update. They wish to make the world a place of smoky darkness, where hope and cheer are crimes punishable by immediate slavery and slow torture. Theirs is an endless greed that neither time nor wealth can ever abate. They committed blasphemy by turning away from the ancestor gods and practicing magic. Magic, I tell you. They are our greatest shame, and they will be dealt with in time. The Chaos Dwarfs are an industrious, dark-souled and merciless warrior race of smiths, slavers and brutal killers that dominate the dark and cheerless landscape of the Dark Lands. At the centre of the Dark Lands lie a region filled with innumerable blackened factories of hellish forges and massive armories, a heartless and nightmarish industrial empire, the likes of which surpasses all others in the old world. Long separated from their fading kin of the West, the Chaos Dwarfs have wholly given themselves over to their Dark Master, and chaos has worked subtle changes on their bodies. They are the darkness and evil of the dwarf race given form, slowly mutating even a notoriously resilient dwarven physiology, inflicting twisted terrors on their minds and souls, so they have become a spite-filled and calculatingly cruel reflection of what they once were. Unlike other dwarves, the Chaos Dwarfs are deeply learned in the sorcerous arts and have become obsessed with the control of hellish forces and the fires of the deep earth, combining the dark lore they have gleaned with an artisanship and skill for metalwork and industry undimmed from their ancient past. From their massive hell factories deep within the Dark Lands, shielded by deadly mountain ranges and set amid desolations of industrial waste and the haunts of monstrous beasts, the empire of the Chaos Dwarfs has faded into legend to many in the old world. But those forced to confront their implacable black iron-clad armies and savage war engines know the truth. The day may yet come when the armies of dread march forth once more, bringing their infernal war machines to sow misery and mayhem to all four corners of the world. The domains of the Chaos Dwarfs have come to encompass the fire-scorched volcanic plain of Zarduk, at the heart of which Zar Nagarund sits, and, like a black iceberg, its real extent lies not above, with its armoured ziggurats and fire-lanced temples, but below the surface in countless miles of magma-lit delvings, cavernous chambers and vaulted mines, which resound to the cries of tortured slaves and the ringing of hammers in an untold number of diabolic forges. For many miles around it, the plain of Zar has succumbed to the hand of the Chaos Dwarfs. It is littered with the scars of vast open mines, fiery rivers of magma, ash dunes and stagnant pools of foaming yellow and blood red noxious with toxic spoil, and fortified workings and watch posts which line the great machine-crushed roads upon which countless slaves haul ore and plunder to feed the ever-hungry city of the Chaos Dwarfs. Beyond their heartland, in the plain of Zar, they have raised great fortress citadels and towers to establish their domain throughout the far-flung and perilous Dark Lands. Although no force, even one as brutal as the Chaos Dwarfs, can lay claim to true sovereignty over this vast realm of accursed, monster-infested, shifting ash deserts. At the edges of the Dark Lands, the outposts and black iron watchtowers of the Chaos Dwarfs extend as far as the great desolation of Asgore and the coastline of the Sea of Dread to the south, and the High Pass to the north, while Makulyak, the place of the skull, seat of the ancient dwarf hold before the time of chaos, is still populated, but is a strange, secretive place, and the bustling workings of its slave port and anchorage hide an ancient inner city that is little more than a heavily garrisoned tomb. The forbidden lower levels of Kulak are shunned even by its masters,
The truth about the Chaos Dwarfs is buried beneath lies and evasions, for they are the great shame of the dwarves. Ask any dwarf, and they'll fiercely deny their existence. But protestations aside, rumours of the great foundries in the Darklands, of mutated bull centaurs, of great cauldrons hungrily devouring sacrifices to some blasphemous dark god, all ring too true to be the result of idle speculation.
Right, let's get into it. The Chaos Dwarfs are well known for their incredible capacity for destruction. They create and maintain enormous war machines capable of levelling the greatest cities and fortresses. Indeed, potentially their only weakness is their reliance on massive armies of slaves to build and operate these contraptions. Chaos Dwarf war machines can take many different forms, from bizarre mechanical marvels to demonically possessed cannons the size of houses, or shrieking rockets that rain hellfire down upon their enemies. These monstrous devices are variably capable of spewing corrosive body fluids, magical concoctions, or even chemical weapons built from wrought iron, mountain steel, or even pure magic. The Chaos Dwarfs bring a high degree of technical nous to their designs. As there are invariably few Chaos Dwarfs to man these machines, they are often designed so that even the stupidest orcs or goblins can operate them with relative ease. Often entire armies of slaves will be put to work building giant battering rams and siege towers. They will then be given the unenviable task of capturing wayward giants, ogres, or suitable monsters from the surrounding area to power them. A Chaos Dwarf army may contain many hundreds, or in some cases thousands of slaves. If a slave performs particularly well, they may well be given a brief respite from battle and harsh conditions, long enough to be fitted with armour and more effective weaponry. For instance, some orcs and goblins will be given plate armour and standardised weapons like axes, swords or spears. The slaves are controlled by a series of slavers led by masters. Ogres, chaos warriors and of course Chaos Dwarfs themselves will fulfil this role with glee. Armed with whips, shackles and bad tempers, the slavers drive entire regiments of goblins to their doom in battle, enforce terrible conditions in the mines, and ensure weapons of war arrive on the front line in time to lend their weight to the conflict. The greatest masters of these slaves can become incredibly wealthy individuals, especially if they can count smithies and tough combat units amongst their thralls. The Chaos Dwarfs will often not be entirely bothered about clothing, feeding or otherwise looking after their slaves, instead preferring to leave this mundanity to the masters. For centuries the Chaos Dwarfs ruled supreme over the Darklands, their furnaces and workshops ceaselessly churning out infernal war machines by the dozens, each one destined to bring only woe and misery upon the wider world. Fueled by slaves, the Chaos Dwarfs were masters of their own dark, twisted world. Until the day came when the slaves rose up in rebellion and nearly spelt the doom of all their kind. During that forgotten age, the Chaos Dwarfs grew wary of the constant animosity and infighting of their green-skinned slaves, and so sought a solution that will make them much more obedient towards their tyrannical masters. With the aid of dark magic and the selection of the largest and strongest of their green-skinned slaves, they magically bred the first Black Orc into existence. If this story were true, then their experiment turns into a complete catastrophe, for their ill-fated attempt to create a more disciplined and highly coordinated greenskin slave force only made them the perfect leaders for their brethren to rise up and topple their sadistic rule. The magical abilities of the dwarf sorcerers could never erase the strong sense of independence that all orcs possess, and when the greenskins rose up in rebellion, the great uprising that followed almost led to the complete destruction of their entire empire, making it as far as the doors to the Temple of Hashat, the very dark heart of the Chaos Dwarf Empire. However, in their hour of triumph, only a timely betrayal of their hobgoblin allies spared the dwarves from their complete and total annihilation. I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to comment, like and subscribe, and thanks very much for watching. Peace.